Vishtam Vishnupar Ashtatarashatashmar Bhaktivedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Dev Ki Jai. Nitilapa Vishtam Vishnupar Ashtatarashatashmar Bhaktivedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitilapa Vishtam Vishnupar Ashtatarashatashmar Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitilapa Vishtam Vishnupar Ashtatarashatashmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitilapa Vishtam Vishnupar Ashtatarashatashmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitilapa Vishta Mahā-Bhagavat Śrīla Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitilapa Vishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Nitilapa Vishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupanuga Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Padadash Raghunath Shar Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. Namachay Shri Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Braja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Bharata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund Ki Jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya Ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Shri Trisprisha Mahadvadashi Titi Ki Jai. For those in America and other places in the world, Shri Vijaya Akadashi Titi Ki Jai. Titi Palan Kari Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnanajana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Etadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam pravrajantam anupetam apeta krityang dvaipayano viraha katar ajuhava putreti tanmayataya taravo bhinedus tang sarva bhuta hridayam munimanatosmi. Narayanam namaskritya narang chaiva narottamam devim sarasating vyasam tato jayam udirayet. Shrinvatang svakatha Krishna punya shravana kirtana hridantasto yabhadrani vidhunoti suhritsatam nashta prayashvabhadreshu nityang bhagavad sevaya bhatuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati nashtaki tavai vasmi na jivami tvaya vina iti vigyaya radhe tvang nayamang charanantikam bhaktya vihina aparada lakshay kshiptashtakama ditaranga madhe kripa mai tvam sharanang prapanna vrinde namaste charana ravindam bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Dandavat pranams, Madhavi Didi, Rupamanjari Didi, Rukmini Didi, and Gargraji. Hare Krishna. So yesterday we read about Bali Mahārāja getting arrested by the Lord. So I'll just read through this and then we can begin. At the end of the last chapter, it was mentioned that Vamandev's foot reached Brahmaloka. What happened next? That's explained in the 21st chapter. The effulgence of Vamandev's toenails reduced the effulgence of Brahmaloka. Lord Brahma, the sages like Marici and yogis, they all seemed insignificant. Then various people came to worship the Lord. Those who were perfect in self-control and regulative principles, experts in logic, history, Vedic literatures, and their corollaries and supplements, those who are freed of fruitive reactions by knowledge awakened by yoga, and those who attained Brahmaloka not by karmakanda, but by devotion unto Vishnu. Lord Brahma worshipped the upraised lotus feet of Lord Brahman with oblations of water, and then offered prayers unto him. And the scent of the Ganga. The water from Brahma's pot, purified by washing the lotus feet of Lord Vaman, became the water of the Ganga. Falling down from the sky, it purifies the three worlds like the pure fame of the Supreme Lord. And in the purport, there is an explanation of 3 Gangas. The water from Brahma's became purified by Vaman's feet, and then became the Ganga. However, the 5th canto says that the Ganga arose from the causal ocean outside the universal shell, which was pierced by Vamandev's toenail. Elsewhere, it is mentioned that the Ganga is directly a liquid form of Narayan. Thus, it should be understood that all 3 of these mix and become the Ganga. Lord Vaman then reduced to his original form. Lord Brahma and other demigods collected various ingredients and paraphernalia and worshipped him. Note: the Lord withdrew his universal form as Trivikram and became Vaman again. Thus he acted like Lord Krishna, who, at the request of Arjuna, first showed his universal form and later resumed his original form as Krishna. They all worshipped Lord Vaman by offering flowers, water, sandalwood pulp, incense, lamps, fruits, and so on. They all danced, sang, and played musical instruments. Jambu, the king of bears, sounded his bugle in all directions and declared a great festival of Vaman's victory. Then the demons tried to attack Vamandev. The demons spoke in anger. This Vaman is not a Brahman, but Vishnu, the greatest of cheaters, working for the interests of the demigods. Because our Lord Bali had given up the power to punish while performing sacrifice, Vaman took away all his possessions. Bali Mahārāja is always fixed in truthfulness. He's kind and merciful toward the Brahmins. So it is our duty to kill this Vaman and thus serve our master. The demons took up their weapons, aggravated by their usual anger, and rushed to kill Vamandev against the will of Bali Mahārāja. Lord Vishnu's associates forbade the demons. Nanda, Sunanda, Jaya, Vijaya, Garuda, Jayanta, and others, as powerful 10,000 elephants, began killing the demons. Then Bali Mahārāja stops the demons. Bali Mahārāja forbade his soldiers to fight, seeing that they were being killed by the Lord's associates and remembering the curse of his guru. Bali told the demons, "O Viprachiti, O Rahu, O Nemi, please stop fighting. By human efforts, no one can supersede the Supreme Lord, who can bring happiness and distress to all living entities. Time, which represents the Supreme Lord, was previously in our favor, but now it is against us. No one can surpass time. By power, by council of ministers, by intelligence, by fortresses, by mystic mantras, by drugs or herbs, by diplomacy, or by other similar means, No one can overcome the time factor. Link to the next verse. The demons couldn't understand this philosophy due to their ignorance. Therefore, Bali Mahārāja now gives an instruction which can understand. Previously being favored by fate or providence, we defeated the associates of Lord Vishnu. Now the same providence is against us, and thus they are defeating us. Unless providence is in our favor, we shall not be able to gain victory, so we must wait for that favorable time to defeat them. The Lord arrests Bali Mahārāja. The demons entered, in accordance with Bali's order, their master, the demons entered the lower regions of the universe, being driven by the soldiers of Vishnu. Thereafter, Garuda arrested Bali with the ropes of Varuna on the day of Somapana, after the sacrifice was finished. Note, Garuda understood the Lord's intentions. Having accepted all of Bali Mahārāja's possessions, my master now desires to accept Bali's very self. Unable to pay his debt, the Lord will become Bali's doorkeeper. Thus arrested Bali Mahārāja to show the entire universe the greatness of the king's tolerance and devotion. Then there was a great roar of lamentation throughout the upper and lower planets when Lord Vishnu thus arrested Bali. Lord Vamandev then addressed Bali, the most magnanimous and famous personality, who lost all wealth, but fixed in determination and intelligence to satisfy Vamandev. But was fixed in his determination. Note, generally wealthy men are famous, but Bali became famous for all time by being deprived of all his wealth. A pure devotee is never deviated from the Lord's service, despite all difficulties and impediments offered by Maya. As the first installment of his special favor, the Lord takes away all the possessions of his devotee. But the devotee is never disturbed by such a loss. He continues his, and the Lord amply rewards him beyond the expectations of any common man. Lord Vamandev accuses Bali and asks for the third step. O king, you had promised me 3 steps, but I occupied the universe by 2. Where should I put my third step? All the land in the universe is in your possession. With one step, I occupied Purloka. With my body, I occupied all the directions. And with the second step, I occupied the upper planets. The Lord now speaks to show the world the steadiness and pure bhakti of Bali. Because you couldn't fulfill your promise of charity, you should go to hell. Also, as per your Guru's order, go and live there along with him. Note, even a person with bhaktabhas, a trace of bhakti, should not go to hell. How then can a pure devotee go to hell just for breaking his promise? Nirai can also mean nilai. Thus the Lord indicated to Bali, go and live in my abode Vaikuntha, nilai. Though now I am ordering you to enter my special place Sutala, after your position there is finished, I will have you enter Vaikuntha. To show the tolerance of Bali Mahārāja to the entire universe, Vamandev asked Bali to go to the hellish planets, and Bali did not hesitate to carry out the order. Although a devotee may appear to have gone to hell or heaven, he does not live in either place. Rather, he always lives in Vaikuntha because he is always engaged in the Lord's service. And anyone who lives with a devotee also lives in Vaikuntha. Far from going to heaven or fulfilling one's desires, one who doesn't properly give charity goes to hell. Note, the Lord indicated to Bali, since you are my devotee, your desire to take Indra's position is useless. Swarga is much below Vaikuntha anyways. The Lord also indicated, though you'll be situated in Sutala now, you are more elevated, since the pleasure of Sutala is not available in Swarga. You will especially attain me, since you have offered everything, body and soul, to me. You will attain me as your doorkeeper because of your complete surrender. Being falsely proud of your wealth, you promised to give me land, but you could not fulfill your promise. So you must live in hellish life as the result of lying. Note, the Lord indirectly meant, O Bali, you are respected more than Indra by people, because you have attained me. Enjoy the pleasures of Sutala given by me. Then, during the 8th Manvantar, I will put you in the post of Indra, and after that, you will take to my abode Vaikuntha. And after that, I will take you to my abode Vaikuntha. All right, so now, chapter 22, Bali Mahārāja surrenders his life. Oh, and by the way, we just 29 minutes ago, we posted part 4 of the gift of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So please watch it when you get a chance. I'll put here. I'll just put this in the comments so that you have the link with you. One second, let me do that really quick. Hari Bo Raseshwari Mataji. Wait, Manjari, we didn't read that. I thought we didn't read the full chapter. Oh, we didn't, did we? Let me just check. Did I mess up with? No, I think we did read this far. Yeah. Am I wrong, Rup Manjari? I thought we read this yesterday, the chapter 21 yesterday. And so now we're reading chapter 22. Let me know if I messed something up. I'm just going to read this chapter summary and then I will check back. Okay, so Bali Mahārāja surrenders his life. Actually, let's check back right now really quick. Yeah, I think we chapter yesterday. It was a short chapter. Okay. The summary of this 22nd chapter is as follows. The Supreme Personality of Godhead was pleased by the behavior of Bali Mahārāja. Thus the Lord placed him on the planet Sutala, and there, after bestowing benedictions upon him, the Lord agreed to become his doorman. Bali Mahārāja was extremely truthful. Being unable to keep his promise, he was very much afraid, for he knew that one who has deviated from truthfulness is insignificant in the eyes of society. An exalted person can suffer the consequences of hellish life, but he is very much afraid of being defamed for the deviation from the truth. Bali Mahārāja agreed with great pleasure to accept the punishment awarded him by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bali Mahārāja's dynasty, there were many asuras who, because of their enmity toward Vishnu, had achieved a destination more exalted than that of many mystic yogis. Bali Mahārāja specifically remembered the determination of Prahlāda Mahārāja in devotional service. Considering all these points, he decided in charity as the place for Vishnu's 3rd step. Bali Mahārāja also considered how great personalities give up their family relationships and material possessions to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Indeed, they sometimes even sacrifice their lives for the satisfaction of the Lord, just to become his personal servants. Accordingly, by following in the footsteps of previous acharyas and devotees, Bali Mahārāja perceived himself successful. While Bali Mahārāja, having been arrested by the ropes of Varuna, was offering prayers to the Lord, his grandfather Prahlāda Mahārāja appeared there and described how the Supreme Personality of Godhead had delivered Bali Mahārāja by taking his possessions in a tricky way. While Prahlāda Mahārāja was present, Lord Brahma and Bali's wife, Vindhyāvali, described the supremacy of the Supreme Lord. Since Bali Mahārāja had given everything to the Lord, they prayed for his release. The Lord then described one devotee's possession of wealth as danger, whereas a devotee's opulence is a benediction from the Lord. Then, being pleased with Bali Mahārāja, the Supreme Lord offered his disc to protect Bali Mahārāja and promised to remain with him. And just what verse are we reading up to? Oops, 1 second. We're reading up to verse 23. Okay. Shri Shuka Uvacha Evam Viprakrito Rajan Balir Bhagavata Sura Vidyamano Pyabhinatma pratyaha viklavam vacha. Shukadeva Goswami said, O king, although the Supreme Personality of Godhead was superficially seen to have acted mischievously toward Bali Mahārāja was fixed in his determination. Considering himself not to fulfill his, he spoke as follows. Shri Balir Uvacha Yaduttama Shloka Bhavan Mameritam Vacho Vyalikang Suravarya Manyate Karom ritam tan na bhaver pralambhanang padang tritiyam kurushirshni me nijam. Such a funny combination. Karom how do you do that? Ya and a ri right after each other. Karom Okay. Bali Mahārāja said, O best personality of Godhead, most worshipable for all the demigods, if you think that my promise has become false, I shall certainly rectify matters to make it truthful. I cannot allow my promise to be false. Please therefore place your third lotus footstep on my head. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Bali Mahārāja could understand the pretense of Lord Vamandev, who had taken the side of the demigods and come before him as a beggar. Although the Lord's purpose was to cheat him, Bali Mahārāja took pleasure in understanding how the Lord will cheat his devotee to glorify the devotee's position. It is said that God is good, and this is a fact. Whether he cheats or rewards, he is always good. Bali Mahārāja therefore addressed him as Uttama Shloka. Your Lordship, he said, you are always praised with the best of selected verses. On behalf of the demigods, you disguised yourself to cheat me, saying that you wanted only 3 paces of land. But later, you expanded your body to such an extent that with 2 footsteps, you covered the entire universe. Because you are working on behalf of your devotees, you do not regard this act as cheating. Never mind. I cannot be considered a devotee. Nonetheless, because of the husband of the goddess of fortune, you have come to me to beg. I must satisfy you to the best of my ability. Sorry, I read that was strange, but you get it. So please do not think that I wanted to cheat you. I must fulfill my promise. I still have my body. When I place my body for your satisfaction, please put your third step on my head. Since the Lord had covered the entire universe with 2 steps, one might ask how Bali Mahārāja's head could be sufficient for his third step. Bali Mahārāja, however, thought that the possession of wealth must be greater than the possession. Therefore, although the Lord had taken all his possessions, the head of Bali Mahārāja, the possessor, would provide adequate place for the Lord's third step. Bibheminaham nirayat padachuto napasha bandhar vyasana durattayat naivarchrad bhavato vinigrahad asaduvadad brishamud udvije yata. I do not fear being deprived of all my possessions, living in hellish life, being arrested for poverty by the ropes of Varuna, or being punished by you, as much as I fear defamation. Purport. Although Bali Mahārāja fully surrendered to the lotus feet to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he could not tolerate being defamed for cheating a Brahman brahmachari. Being quite alert in regard to his reputation, he thought deeply about how to prevent being defamed. The Lord, therefore, gave him the good counsel to prevent defamation by offering his head. A Vaishnav does not fear any punishment. Narayana parasarve na kutashtana bhibhyati. That's Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 6:17-28. Pungsam shlagyatamam manye dandam arhatamarpitam yang namata pita bhrata suhridascha dishantihi. Although a father, mother, brother, or friend may sometimes punish one as a well-wisher, they never punish their subordinates like this. But because you are the most worshipable Lord, I regard the punishment you have given me as most exalted. Purport. Punishment meted out by the Supreme Personality of Godhead is accepted by the devotee as the greatest mercy. Tatenu kampam susamikshamano bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam hridvag vapupir vididhan namaste jivetayo mukti pade sadhai bhak. 1 second. One who seeks to compassion and thus tolerates all kinds of adversities due to the karma of his past deeds, who engages always in your devotional service with his mind, words, and body, and who always offers obeisances to you, is certainly a bona fide candidate for liberation. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10:14-8. A devotee knows that so-called punishment by the Supreme Personality of Godhead is only his favor to correct his devotee and bring him to the right path. Therefore, the punishment awarded by the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be compared to even the greatest benefit awarded by one's material father, mother, brother, or friend. Tvang nunam asuranam na paroksha paramo guru yo noneka madandhanam vibhrangsham chakshuradishat. Since your lordship is indirectly the greatest well-wisher of us demons, you act for our best by posing as if our enemy. Because demons like us always aspire for a position of false prestige, by chastising us, you give us the eyes by which to see the right path. Purport. Bali Mahārāja considered the Supreme Personality of Godhead a better friend to the demons than to the demigods. In the material world, the more one gets material possessions, the more he becomes blind to spiritual life. The demigods are devotees of the Lord for the sake of material possessions, but although the demons apparently do not have the Supreme Personality of Godhead on their side, he always acts as their well-wisher by depriving them of their positions of false prestige. By false prestige, one is misguided, so the Supreme Lord takes away their position of false prestige as a special favor. Yasmin vairanu bandhena vyudhena vibudhetara bahavole bhire siddhing yamnu haikanta yogina tena ham nigrihitosmi bhavata bhuri karmana bhadascha varunai pashar nati vridhe nacha vyate. Many demons who are continuously inimical toward you finally achieve the perfection of great mystic yogis. Your lordship can perform one work to serve many purposes, and consequently, although you have punished me in many ways, I do not feel ashamed of having been arrested by the ropes of Varuna, nor do I feel aggrieved. Purport. Bali Mahārāja pleaded the Lord's mercy not only upon him, but upon many other demons. Because this mercy is liberally distributed, the Supreme Lord is called all-merciful. Bali Mahārāja was indeed a fully surrendered devotee. Even some demons who are not all devotees, but merely enemies of the Lord, attained the same exalted position achieved by many mystic yogis. Thus, Bali Mahārāja could understand that the Lord had some hidden purpose in punishing him. Consequently, he was neither unhappy nor ashamed because of the awkward position in which he had been put by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pitamaho me bhavadiya sammata Prahlāda avishkrita sadhu vadaha bhavar vipakshena vichitra vaishasam samprapitastvang paramasvapitra. My grandfather Prahlāda Mahārāja is famous, being recognized by all your devotees. Although harassed in many ways by his father, Hiranyakashipu, he still remains faithful, taking shelter at your lotus feet. Purport. A pure devotee like Prahlāda Mahārāja, although harassed circumstantially in many ways, never gives up the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to take shelter of anyone else. A pure devotee never complains against the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A vivid example is Prahlāda Mahārāja. Examining the life of Prahlāda Mahārāja, we can see how severely he was harassed by his own father, Hiranyakashipu. Yet he did not divert his attention from the Lord even to the smallest extent. Bali Mahārāja, following in the footsteps of his grandfather Prahlāda Mahārāja, remains fixed in his devotion to the Lord, despite the Lord's having punished him. Kimatmananena jahati yontata, king riktatharai swajanakya dasyubi, kim jayaya sangsriti hetu bhutaya, martyasya gehai kim ihayusho vyaya. What is the use of the material body which automatically leaves its owner at the end of life? And what is the use of all one's family members who are actually plunderers, taking away money that is useful for the service of the Lord in spiritual opulence? What is the use of a wife? She is only the source of increasing material conditions. And what is the use of family, home, country, and community? Attachment for them merely wastes the valuable energy of one's lifetime. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna advises, Sama dharmam parityaja ek mam ekam sharanam vraja. Sama dharmam, that's interesting. Not sarva dharma, maybe that's a mistake. Give up all other varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. The common man does not appreciate such a statement by the Supreme Personality of Godhead because he thinks that during his lifetime, his family, society, country, body, and relatives are everything. Why should one give up any one of them and take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? But from the behavior of great personalities like Prahlāda Mahārāja and Bali Mahārāja, we understand that surrendering to the Lord is the right action for an intelligent person. Prahlāda Mahārāja took shelter of Vishnu against the will of his father. Similarly, Bali Mahārāja took shelter of Vamandev against the will of his spiritual master Shukracharya and all the leading demons. People may be surprised that devotees like Prahlāda Mahārāja and Bali Mahārāja could seek shelter of the side of the enemy, giving up the natural affinity for family, hearth, and home. In this connection, Bali Mahārāja explains that the body, which is the center of all material activities, is also a foreign element. Even though we want to keep the body fit and helpful to our activities, the body cannot continue eternally. Although I am the soul, which is eternal, after using the body for some time, I have to accept another body, tata dehantara prapti, according to the laws of nature, unless I render some service with the body for advancement in devotional service. One should not use the body for any other purpose. One must know that if he uses the body for any other purpose, he is simply wasting time, for as soon as the time is ripe, the soul will automatically leave the body. We are very interested in society, friendship, and love. But what are they? Those in the garb of friends and relatives merely plunder the hard-earned money of the bewildered soul. Everyone is affectionate toward his wife and is attached to her. But what is this wife? The wife is called Stri, which means one who expands the material condition. If a person lives without a wife, his material conditions are less extensive. As soon as one marries and is connected with a wife, his material necessities increase. Pungsa Striya mituni bhavam itam tayor mito hridaya grantemahu to griha kshetra sutapta vitar janasya moho yam ahang mameti. The attraction between male and female is the basic principle of material existence. On the basis of this misconception, which ties together the hearts of the male and female, one becomes attracted to his body, home, property, children, relatives, and wealth. In this way, one increases life's illusions and thinks in terms of I and mine. That's Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 5.5.8. Human life is meant for self-realization, not for increasing unwanted things. Actually, a wife increases unwanted things. One's lifetime, one's home, and everything one has, if not properly used in the service of the Lord, are all sources of material conditions of perpetual suffering under the threefold miseries, adhyatmika, adhipotika, and adhaivika. Unfortunately, there is no institution in human society for education on this subject. People are kept in dark about the goal of life, and thus there is a continuous struggle for existence. We speak of survival of the fittest, but no one survives, for no one is free under material conditions. Itang sanishchitya pitamaho mahan agada bodho bhavata pada parmang dhruvam prapede yakuto bhayang janad bhita swapaksha kshapanasya sattama. My grandfather, the best of all men, who achieved unlimited knowledge and was worshipable for everyone, was afraid of the common men of in this world. Being fully convinced of the substantiality afforded by the shelter at your lotus feet, he took shelter of your lotus feet against the will of his father and demoniac friends, who were killed by your own self. Atahamapyatma ripostvantikam tavantikam daivena nita prasabham tyajita shri idam kritantantika varti jivitam yaya dhruvam stabdha matir nabudhyate. Only by providence have I been forcibly brought under your lotus feet and deprived of all my opulence. Because of the illusion created by temporary opulence, people in general who live under material conditions, facing accidental death at every moment, do not understand that this life is temporary. Only by providence have I been saved from that condition. Purport. Bali Mahārāja appreciated the actions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although all the members of the domains except Prahlāda Mahārāja and Bali Mahārāja considered Vishnu their eternal traditional enemy. As described by Bali Mahārāja, Lord Vishnu was actually not the enemy of the family, but the best friends of the family. The principles of this friendship had already been stated. Yasyaham anugrihnami harishye tad dhanam shanai. The Lord bestows special favor upon his devotee by taking away all his material opulences. Bali Mahārāja appreciated this behavior by the Lord. Therefore he said, Daivena nitaprasabham tyajita shrihi. It is to bring me to the right platform of eternal life that you have put me into these circumstances. Actually, everyone should fear the so-called society, friendship, and love, for which he works so hard all day and night. As indicated by Bali Mahārāja by the words Janarapita, every devotee in Krishna consciousness should always be afraid of the common men engaged in pursuing material prosperity. Such a person is described as pramata, a madman chasing the will-o'-the-wisp. Such men do not know that after a hard struggle for life, one must change his body, with no certainty of what kind of body he will receive next. Those who are completely established in Krishna conscious philosophy and who therefore understand the aim of life will never take to the activities of the materialistic dog race. If a sincere devotee somehow does fall down, the Lord corrects him and saves him from gliding down to the darkest region of hellish life. Adanta gobir vishitam tamisram puna punascharvita charvananam. The materialistic way of life is nothing but the repeated chewing of that which has already been chewed. Although there is no profit in such a life, people are enamored of it because of uncontrolled senses. Nunang pramata kurute vikarma. Because of uncontrolled senses, people fully engage in sinful activities by which they get a body full of suffering. Bali Mahārāja appreciated how the Lord had saved him from such a bewildered life of ignorance. He therefore said that his intelligence had been stunned. Stabda matir nabuddhate. He could not understand how the Supreme Personality of Godhead favors his devotees by forcibly stopping their materialistic activities. Shri Shuka Uvacha Tasyetam Bhashamanasya Prahlādo Bhagavat Priya Ajagama Kurushreshta Rakapatir Ivotita. Shukadev Goswami said, O best of the Kurus, while Bali Mahārāja was describing his fortunate position in this way, the most dear devotee of the Lord, Prahlāda Mahārāja, appeared there, like the moon rising in the nighttime. Tang Indrasena Sapita Maham Shriya Virajamanam Nalina Yetekshanam Prangshung Pishangambaram Anjanatisham Pralamba Bahung Shubhagarshabam Aikshata. Pralamba Bahum Shubhagarshabam. Hey, there's one extra syllable here. Okay. Then Bali Mahārāja saw his grandfather Prahlāda Mahārāja, the most fortunate personality, whose dark body resembled black ointment for the eyes. His tall, elegant figure was dressed in yellow garments. He had long arms, and his beautiful eyes were like the petals of a lotus. He was very dear and pleasing to everyone. I didn't know Prahlāda Mahārāja had a dark body. That's pretty neat. Tasmai balir varuna pasha samarhanam no pajahara purvapat nanama murdhanashru vilolalochana savreda nichina mukho babhuvaha. Being bound by the ropes of Varuna, Bali Mahārāja could not offer befitting respect to Prahlāda Mahārāja as he had before. Rather, he simply offered respectful obeisances with his head, his eyes being inundated with tears and his face lowered in shame. Purport. Since Bali Mahārāja had been arrested by Lord Vamandev, he was certainly to be considered an offender. Bali Mahārāja seriously felt that he was an offender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Certainly, Prahlāda Mahārāja would not like this. Therefore, Bali Mahārāja was ashamed and hung his head. Satatra hasinam udiksha satpati haring sunandadyanugar upasitam upeta bhumo shirasa mahamana nanama murdhna pulakashu viklava. When the great personality Prahlāda Mahārāja saw that the Supreme Lord was sitting there, surrounded and worshipped by his intimate associates like Sunanda, he was overwhelmed with tears of jubilation. Approaching the Lord and falling to the ground, he offered obeisances to the Lord with his head. Shri Prahlāda uvacha Tvayaiva dattam tamandra urjitam hritam tameva datataiva shobhanam manye mahan asya krito hyanugraho vibranshito yat shriya atma mohanat. Prahlāda Mahārāja said, "My Lord, it is your lordship who gave the great opulence of the post of heavenly king, and now, today, it is you who have taken it all away. I think you have acted with equal beauty in both ways. Because his exalted position as king of heaven was putting him in the darkness of ignorance, you have done him a very merciful favor by taking away all his opulence." Purport. As it is said, Yasyaham anugrihnami harishye tad dhanam shanai. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10:88-8. It is by the mercy of the Lord that one gets all material opulence. But if such material opulence causes one to become puffed up and forget the process of self-realization, the Lord certainly takes all the opulence away. The Lord bestows mercy upon his devotee by helping him find out his constitutional position. For that purpose, the Lord is always ready to help the devotee in every way. But material opulence is sometimes dangerous because it diverts one's attention to false prestige by giving one the impression that he is the owner and master of everything he surveys, although actually this is not the fact. To protect the devotee from such a misunderstanding, the Lord, showing special mercy, sometimes takes away all his material possessions. Yasyaham anugrihnami harishye tad dhanam shanai. Yaya hi vidvan apimo yate yatas tatko vichaste gatem atmano yata tasmai namaste jagadishvaraya vai Narayana ya kila lokasakshine. Material opulence is so bewildering that it makes even a learned, self-controlled man forget the goal of self-realization. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, the Lord of the universe, can see everything by his will. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Purport. The words ko vichaste gatim atmano yata indicates that when one is puffed up by the false prestige of possessing material opulence, he certainly neglects the goal of self-realization. This is a position of the modern world. Because of so-called scientific improvements in material opulence, people have entirely given up the path of self-realization. Practically, no one is interested in God, one's relationship with God, or how one should act. Modern men have altogether forgotten such questions because they are mad for material possessions. If this kind of civilization continues, the time will soon come when the Supreme Personality of Godhead will take away all the material opulences. Then the people will come to their senses. Yikes! Shri Shuka Uvacha Tasyānuṣrinvato Rajan Prahlādasya Kritanjale Hiranyagarbho Bhagavan Uvacha Madhusudanam. Shukadev Goswami continued, O King Parikshit, Lord Brahma then began to speak to the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the hearing of Prahlāda Mahārāja, who stood nearby with folded hands. Badam Viksha Patim Sati Tatpatni Bhayavivala Pranjali Pranato Pendram Babhashe Vang Mukhi Nripa. But Bala's chaste wife, afraid and aggrieved at seeing her husband arrested, immediately offered obeisances to Lord Vamandev, Upendra. She folded her hands and spoke as follows. Purport. Although Lord Brahma was speaking, he had to stop for a while because Bali Maharaja's wife, Vindhyāvali, who was very agitated and afraid, wanted to say something. Shri Vindhyāvalir Uvacha Kirdartam Atmanamidam Chijagat Kritam Te Swangyam Tu Tatra Kudhiyo Para Isha Kuryu Kartu Prabhostava Kimasyata Avahanti Tyakta Riyastvara Avaropita Kartrivadaha. Srimati Vindhyāvali said, O my Lord, you have created the entire universe for the enjoyment of your personal pastimes, but foolish, unintelligent men have claimed proprietorship for material enjoyment. Certainly they are shameless agnostics. Falsely claiming proprietorship, they think they can give charity and enjoy. In such a condition, what good can they do for you, who are the independent creator, maintainer, and annihilator of this universe? Purport. Bali Maharaja's wife, who was most intelligent, supported the arrest of her husband and accused him of having no intelligence because he had claimed proprietorship of the property of the Lord. Such a claim is a sign of demoniac life. Although the demigods, who are officials appointed by the Lord for management, are attached to materialistic enjoyment, they never claim to be the proprietors of the universe, for they know that the actual proprietor of everything is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the qualification of the demigods. But the demons, instead of accepting the exclusive proprietorship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, claim the property of the universe for themselves through demarcations of nationalism. This part is mine, and that part is yours, they say. This part I can give in charity, and this part I can keep for my enjoyment. These are all demoniac conceptions. This is described in Bhagavad Gita 16:13. Idam adya maya labdam imam prapse manoratam. Thus far I have acquired so much money and lands. Now I have to add more and more. In this way I shall be the greatest proprietor of everything. Who can compete with me? These are all demoniac conceptions. Wow, so if it's up to Srila Prabhupada, there would be no borders anywhere. Bali Maharaja's wife accused Bali Maharaj by saying that although the Supreme Personality of Godhead had arrested him, showing him extraordinary mercy, and although Bali Maharaj was offering his body to the Supreme Lord for the Lord's third step, He was still in the darkness of ignorance. Actually, the body did not belong to him, but because of his long-standing demoniac mentality, he could not understand this. He thought that since he had been defamed for his inability to fulfill his promise of charity, and since the body belonged to him, he would free himself by defamation by offering. He'd free himself from defamation by offering his body. Actually, however, the body does not belong to anyone but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whom the body is given. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 1861, Ishvara sarvabhutanam hriddeshe arjuna tishtati, brahmayam sarvabhutani yantrarudhani mayaya. The Lord is situated in the core of everyone's heart, and, according to the material desires of the living entity, the Lord offers a particular type of machine, the body, through the agency of the material energy. The body actually does not belong to the living entity. It belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Under the circumstances, how could Bali Mahārāja claim that the body belonged to him? Thus, Vindhyāvali, Bali Mahārāja's intelligent wife, prayed that her husband be released by the Lord's causeless mercy. Otherwise, Bali Mahārāja was nothing but a shameless demon, specifically described as Takta Hriyas Tad Avaropita Kartrivadaha, a foolish person claiming proprietorship over the property of the Supreme Person. In the present age, Kali Yuga, the number of such shameless men who are agnostics disbelieving in the existence of God has increased. Trying to defy the authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so-called scientists, philosophers, and politicians manufacture plans and schemes for the destruction of the world. They cannot do anything good for the world, and unfortunately, because of Kali Yuga, they have plunged the affairs of the world into mismanagement. Thus, there is a great need for the Krishna consciousness movement for the benefit of the innocent people who are being carried away by the propaganda of such demons. If the present status quo is allowed to continue, people will certainly suffer more and more under the leadership of these demoniac agnostics. Shri Brahmovacha Bhutta Bhavana Bhutesha Deva Deva Jaganmaya Munchainam Hirta Sarvasvam Nayam Arhati Nigraham. Lord Brahma said, O well-wisher and master of all living entities, O worshipable deity of all the demigods, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, now this man has been sufficiently punished, for you have taken everything. Now you can release him. He does not deserve to be punished more. Purport. When Lord Brahma saw that Prahlāda Mahārāja and Vindhyāvali had already approached the Lord to ask for mercy for Bali Mahārāja, he joined them and recommended Bali Mahārāja's release on the grounds of worldly calculations. Kritsnate nena datta bur loka karmarjitaschaye niveditam chasarvasvam atma viklavaya diya. Bali Mahārāja had already offered everything to your lordship. Without hesitation, he has offered his lands, the planets, and whatever else he earned by his pious activity, including even his own body. Yat padayor ashatadhi salilam pradaya durvankurar api vidhaya satim saparyam apyuttamang gatimaso bhajate triloking Tashvan aviklava mana katamartam richet. By offering even newly grown grass or flower buds at your lotus feet, those who maintain no mental duplicity can achieve the most exalted position within the spiritual world. This Bali Mahārāja, without duplicity, has now offered everything in the three worlds. How then can he deserve to suffer from arrest? Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 9.26 it is stated, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhakta prayachati am bhaktipahritam ashnami prayatatmana. We're ending with this purport, by the way. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is so kind, and if an unsophisticated person, with devotion and without duplicity, offers at the lotus feet of the Lord a little water, a flower, a fruit, a leaf, or a leaf, the Lord accepts it. Then the devotee is promoted to Vaikuntha, the spiritual world. Brahma drew the Lord's attention to this subject and requested that he release Bali Mahārāja, who was suffering, being bound by the ropes of Varuna, and who had already given him everything, including the 3 worlds and whatever he possessed. We're finishing here. So tomorrow we will read. Vamandev speaks about his merciful nature. Then Vamandev glorifies Bali Mahārāja's forbearance and truthfulness, and Vamandev's blessings upon Bali Mahārāja. All right, see you all tomorrow then. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandhar Vikagiri Dhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmar Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shri Guru Dev Ki Jai, Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmar Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmar Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nitila Pravishta Mahā-Bhagavat Shila Gorkishara Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitila Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai, Nitila Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhaumashta Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai, Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Shar Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai, Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai, Nama Charishla Hairas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Radha Kun Shama Kun Ki Jai, Shri Muna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya Ki Jai, Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Trisprisha Mahadvarashi Titi Ki Jai, or for those in America, Shri Vijaya Akadashi Titi Ki Jai, Shri Palan Kari Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Vamandev Ki Jai, Shri Bali Mahārāja Ki Jai, Shri Prahlāda Mahārāja Ki Jai, Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Ki Jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Vrindai Tulsi Devai, Priyai Keshavashacha, Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi, Sattvatai Namo Namaha, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu Bhyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams, everybody. So see you all tomorrow. And then the day after tomorrow is Shiva Chaturdashi, Shiva Ratri. So I'm going to try to read extra tomorrow, and then we'll just have a short reading the day after tomorrow, and then we could also read about Shiva. All right. Dandavat pranams, Rukmini Didi. Hari Bol, everybody. Dhanyavad Pranam Swarup Manjuri Didi. And Pradyumna Prabhu. Oh, and wait 1 second before I go. Oh yeah, Pradyumna Prabhu. Oh yeah, Pradyumna, you missed the podcast for the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam class. Thanks for that. um, oh, one thing, we just posted part 4 of the gift of Sri Caitanya, gift of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I'm not sure if you've seen the part 1, part 2, and part 3, but yeah, part 4 is out. So if you get a chance, you can watch that. It's this 4th part is more or less the conclusion of the documentary, and part 5 is kind of like an additional thing, which is all about Srila Prabhupada and my Gurudev. Yeah, 4 is the title of it is Approaching the Gift, and it's about, okay, now we know the gift of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now how do we approach the gift? And also there's a big section on hope. My Gurudev, you would say, I see the rays of hope everywhere. And so yeah, that's a big topic in the 4th part. So yeah, please, when you get a chance, you can watch it. If you want the link, I put it in the comments. Otherwise, you can just go to my Facebook page. And also, you can see srichaitanya.com, SRICAITANYA.com, srichaitanya.com, and the videos are also up there. All right, Haribol.